Welcome everyone to this very special episode of the Utah Stories program. A pandemic facing downtown Salt Lake City along with a 5.7 earthquake. I go and visit downtown amidst these two very strange occurrences happening at the same time. The stock market is tanking. We're seeing a lot of people panicking, buying tons of toilet paper, clearing the shelves of the grocery stores. Kind of wanted to get a pulse, a reading of the pulse of downtown Salt Lake City, so I decided to go down with my bike and take a look at what's going on. Here is what I found. I started at Cheers to You Bar. This has a nostalgic quality for us. This is where we started Utah Stories nights. All closed. Keep safe and vigilant, the sign says. This is across the street at Zions Bank. This is some damage from the earthquake. A giant crack going about a quarter way up the facade. The Angel Moroni lost his horn due to the earthquake. Had to see that on the downtown Salt Lake City Temple. Just amazing to see something like that. Middle of the day, nobody on the streets except for a couple of skateboarders. This is Main Street now, just very few people. Tracks is just sitting there. This is the City Creek Center, also nobody there. It's closed down. You can hear the ominous chopper flying overhead.
So my name is Ibu Fall.
Yeah.
And I'm at Twisted Roots, which is at 156 South Main Street. Came in to assess the damages and see what's going on.
There's a pandemic going on and now an earthquake this morning. Does it feel like the earth is coming to an end?
Yes, we're living through some trying times, definitely. Yeah.
So where do you stand with the earthquake? Is that the reason why you're closed, or is it the pandemic?
Probably both. Probably both. I mean, yeah, I want to be home. You know, because it looks like we're still getting aftershocks.
Yeah. So now I'm heading southbound on Main Street, right in the middle of the sidewalk. You would never want to do this during the middle of the day on a normal day, but there's almost nobody around, so I'm just biking to go see a shop that I believe will probably be open, because he's almost never closed. It's the Salt Lake Book and Magazine shop. What do you have to say? Pandemic and earthquake all in one day. What do you think? Is the world coming to an end?
No, it ain't coming nowhere. It's just a fluke is all this is. First we got the virus, now we got the earthquake. What the hell is going to happen next? I got a brick. You want to see my brick? A friend of mine signed it. It was the first rock that fell in the earthquake. You want to see it?
Yeah, let's see it. Wow, Felt Building, 341 Main, 3/18/27:30 a.m. earthquake. Nice.
Earthquake.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
That's a good souvenir.
That's the first one that fell off.
Huh. Right off of which is the Felt?
Felt.
That one. Oh, crazy amount of damage on some of Utah's most historic old buildings. Really surprising to see. But you can see Pete. He's been a mainstay in downtown. He's not worried. He's making light of the situation, and I think everybody else should too. It's these are some crazy times, I admit, and these are times when we have to be isolated, which is terrible for people suffering from mental illness and people who are prone to think that the world is coming to an end. But we live in a latter-day culture in Utah, and a lot of people think that indeed we are seeing the end of the world. We had coffee with my neighbor yesterday morning, and it was her son believes the world is ending. So I wanted to put this in a bit of historical context, and I wanted to look and examine the last major pandemic we had, which was in the United States and all over the world. It was called the Spanish flu because I believe it came out of Spain. So during this pandemic, everybody had to wear masks. Everybody had to be quarantined that had the disease. This was a barracks in Kansas City called Camp Funston. It was a terrible flu that actually impacted people in there from ages 25 to 35 more than the rest of the population, you can see in this curve. and it was killing millions of people. Estimates are that between 17 to 50 million, possibly up to 100 million people died. They were trying to get people to understand they had to make masks, they shouldn't go outside. But before that happened, there was a major spike in deaths and contraction. So this will not be nearly as bad as the Spanish flu if we simply follow the advice that our government is telling us. I think we should be staying home right now. We should be limiting exposure and time to lots of people, and we should follow the advice. But I wanted to do a major shout out to all of the local restaurants. This is the magazine we publish each month. It's Utah Stories. It's our special craft beer issue. A lot of the support of Utah Stories is brought to you by local restaurants. And restaurants and bars really make up the fabric of our local culture. I mean, you take away the bars and restaurants, and what do you have in Salt Lake? I mean, they're wonderful establishments where their hospitality is amazing in downtown. And I think if any local restaurant is remaining open, we need to call, get takeout, use Uber Eats or Grubhub, and let's support them during this very difficult time, because they're going to be closed for customers to go in and dine. So let's order takeout from them. So we're going to be putting a directory listing of all the restaurants that are going to remain open for the next couple of weeks. There's 8 million restaurant employees across the United States. They're on the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum. I don't think we need to tell all these people, let's wait for the government to give you a check. Let's help them out. Let's step up and help them. Rather than hoarding toilet paper, let's see what we can do to help our fellow members of our communities. That's my only little call to action for you. I thank you so much for watching this program and subscribing. If you're new to this channel, Utah Stories is the voice of local Utah. We want to cover the grassroots local journalism, the perspective of small business owners, of residents, about the issues that really matter. And so I hope if you agree with that type of content, seeing more of that content, you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to us in iTunes. It's really helpful if you give us a 5-star review in iTunes if you like this content. And we have a digital newsletter you can subscribe to. And Utah Stories magazine can be found all over Utah, as far north as Ogden, as far south as St. George. Now we have a lot of locations, but we're especially in downtown Salt Lake and Sugar House. And so with that said, I think that wraps up this episode of the program. This is Rich Markosian. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. You can check us out on Twitter. Instagram is the main way you can follow us, but if you really like local, hyper-local, in-depth content, go subscribe to our digital newsletter at utahstories.com.